Hi, I'm Andrew Christie. I am the creator of Peter Pan Drew, and I'm Peter Pan Drew. Peter Pan Drew is the story based on my memoirs, which is can be found on Amazon for Kindle or for Nook, and it's the Peter Pan Drew trilogy. And it's basically the story of my life and my struggles with dealing with bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, coming of age or refusal of coming of age, and kind of the colorful characters that I've met along the way, and maybe what ails them, and the big overall metaphor for Peter Pan here, that I find these people and I kind of suck them into my Neverland and sort of try and hold them there, try and create these makeshift families to make up for or emulate the family that I had, and feel depressed or devastated when they fall apart. My character, the person that I'm playing, who is myself, is someone who is really just trying to, I guess, break away from society. I'm a rebel to society in so many ways. I'm someone who really has many issues with being trapped into a certain label, whether it's a sexuality label or whether it's a mental illness label or whatever it may be. And those are sort of some of the big themes in the novel that we tackle, and in the series that we tackle. I suffer from bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, as well as, traits of narcissism and histrionic personality disorder and temporal lobe epilepsy. So there's tons of different diagnoses that come into hand and have a play in this story. And if you look at the original Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, a lot of his characters and Peter Pan all sort of have these traits too. Peter Pan does kind of, pull people in and then push them away, and it's all very symptomatic of something borderlines would do. We're trying to defeat mental illnesses with this. We're trying to show that, borderline personality disorder is not it's not fatal attraction. It's not this scary thing. It's a human thing. It's like everybody's got their something. Sexuality, of course, plays an enormous role in this story also, because I personally have the belief that sexuality is fluid and it's dependent on the person. It's like, really, there is no gay or straight or bisexual or pansexual. I don't really believe in any of that. I believe in the fact that each person is their own person, and they all have their own sexuality unto themselves that has been shaped and can be reshaped throughout time if people are open-minded enough to let it. And we explore that a lot in this series as I explore it, as I go through different phases in my life, whether it be a rebellious phase and I'm trying to be the gayest of the gay, or I'm trying to, I guess, assimilate with straight culture and be there for these girls that I do fall in love with. So there are many characters that I love and that I try and take in. Really, a big theme here is also polyamory, and the fact that different people are going to play a different role in your life, and you are kind of cutting yourself off from those experiences by only saying that there's supposed to be one person, that there's just supposed to be like the one. And I think that there is no ultimate lead romance for Andrew. There's no lead romance for my character, for me. There's just a whole bunch of different people who mean different things to me at different times and in different ways, and it's beautiful to explore that and to find out what they mean and why they mean that. The fact that people do play around with gender roles, the original Peter Pan, it's often sometimes played by a girl, and I think that it lends into the idea of the fact that sexuality is very fluid in this story, and it's kind of the perfect landscape to tell the kind of messages that I'm trying to tell here. He'll sort of adapt to whatever people want, as long as he can kind of keep people around and keep them on his string. And it's not so much manipulative, it's more so he can kind of keep this family that he's trying to build. And he thinks that he blurs the lines between sexuality and other kinds of relationships, and he thinks this is the only way that he can keep them. Domination is a huge, huge part of this story. There's so many times that my character is caught up with power plays with other characters, and that really comes from, I guess, an early upbringing of this. And the patterns just repeat and repeat and repeat. And Andrew's I'm very attached to being someone's secret, which is something that we keep seeing. And it's this secretive games of power and domination that Andrew just always keeps going back to, that I always keep going back to, and that ends up getting me in this hot water of, emotional turbulence. A lot of the characters in the story, there are no heroes or villains in this story. When Peter Pan was originally written, it was called Peter and Wendy, and Peter was written as the antagonist, but not as a classic antagonist, as an anti-hero, which is how I view, myself in this story. And he was written to be an antagonist for Wendy, who wanted to grow up, and Peter was, of course, keeping her from growing up. And J.M. Barrie felt that was just too dark, so he ended up writing in Captain Hook that could kind of antagonize Peter Pan. And Peter Pan and Captain Hook, really, there are no clear heroes and villains in that either, because when Captain Hook goes away at the end, Peter Pan cries. It's like, this is a relationship that Peter Pan is very obsessed with. Just as much as Captain Hook loves the fight and the rivalry, so does Peter Pan. So they're caught up in this. They love this. A lot of the time, as far as being a hero or a villain, I'm definitely my own worst enemy. So that plays a big part of it. It's like if there is a villain, it's like, I'm destructing myself. Like I'm totally not I'm not doing myself any favors sometimes. But then at the same time, if I ever really do need to be saved, a lot of the times I'm my biggest savior. And that's a big message of the story as well. That borderlines are always looking for a hero, and the hero that I'm looking for can often be me, and I'm also the hero for everybody around me. And that's very in relation to Peter Pan, who is oftentimes the hero for everyone around him and feels like he doesn't have a hero for himself. When Disney originally made the story, when Walt Disney made the story of Peter Pan, he was so excited to make it because it was his favorite story. And then I know that he was very disappointed with the way it turned out, because he said there's absolutely no way you can make this character likable. You can't make Peter Pan a likable character. And I think that's something that I like about Peter Pan, and it resonates with the truth of humanity for me, is that sometimes people aren't likable. And so one of the actors asked me, like, as he was reading the script, he said to me, is your character supposed to be so unlikable? And like I smiled and I was like, I don't care if you like me, because not everyone's gonna like me, and that's the way it is. It's like I'm not looking to be the hero for everyone, but I don't think that I'm a bad person. I think that I'm just human, and I'm trying to show all human sides of myself and everybody around me. So I'm really not trying to exploit anybody or treat it or show anybody in a bad light. I'm trying to show the truth in people and show their strengths and their weaknesses as honestly as possible to what the reality of some of these personality types can be. And I think that's something that the world needs to see right now. A lot of these issues are very pertinent to what's going on in society and what we need to see and what we need to talk about as a community.